Hello, welcome to the video. And today we're going to be discussing about a very important topic. As a USMNT fan, I feel like we do play in a very weak region, which is CONCACAF. We all know about CONCACAF. Like it's a lot of people say it's the worst region out there, uh, and I kind of feel that they're right. Again, for a long time, it was like the only average representatives that we had was us and Mexico, which again it's again you have Costa Rica's golden generation, some again like you have some golden generation here and there. Costa Rica, we all know about Costa Rica. They made it to quarterfinals of World Cup in 2014. However, again, right now I feel like it's basically us, Mexico, and Canada. So today we're going to be discussing about how do the CanMNT and L3 compare to the USMNT. So let's begin. So let's start off right here with goalkeepers. Goalkeepers, I feel like it's a weakness for both sides if you really want to look into it. Let's talk about Mexico first. Mexico, right now many L3 fans want to replace Ochoa. But again, I feel like Ochoa's still the best Mexican goalkeeper out there. Like there is still not a replacement for Guillermo Ochoa, which is wild. Like a lot of people would be expecting right now for this cycle that we finally have another replace that Mexico finally has a replacement for Guillermo Ochoa, but again, they do not. They do not have a replacement for Guillermo Ochoa. Uh, a lot of people want to say Acevedo, but Acevedo is a really inconsistent goalkeeper. I feel like he has many of the same issues that Ochoa has, but with less reflexes. So let's talk about the main issues with Ochoa. Basically coming out of out of his own box, catching crosses, and playing with his feet. I feel like those are the same issues that Acevedo has, and in the worst part, Acevedo, I don't think he has the same reflexes as Ochoa. Now let's talk about Tapia. Tapia has been looking pretty good for Querétaro, and I feel like if there's a goalkeeper that can replace Ochoa in the future, I feel like he'll be him. I rate him higher than Acevedo. He's much younger as well, so I feel like this is kind of a no-brainer. I feel like Tapia has to be the second string goalkeeper. Now let's talk about kind of Milan Borjan is aging. He is. I feel like he in the final of the Nations League he was pretty poor, and I feel like it's time to move on from him. So the main two candidates are Crepeau and Dane Sinclair. I'm really not high on both, but if I have to choose one, I may have to say Maxime Crepeau. I feel like as soon as he's finally 100% and he shakes off the rust, I feel like he'll be starting again for LAFC. He is competing against McCarty for a spot, and I feel like that'll be pretty easy for him to win back. So LAFC will be having their starting goalkeeper back. Dane Sinclair, he's pretty decent when it comes with Minnesota United, but again, I feel like he's missing something. I don't know. Like he's not pretty good. He's below average with his feet. So I have to say I might have to choose Maxime Crepeau over both Milan Borjan and Dane Sinclair. So now let's talk about the other positions, the defense, which is center backs. So center backs for Canada is a position of desperate need. Basically, when your best pure center back is Steven Vittoria, when your best overall center back is a right back, there's an issue. Alistair Johnson has to play as a center back oftentimes, although he is pretty good at Celtic. He is a right back. He is clearly a right back. So if if I was Canada, I'll try to find for replacements. Kamal Miller, not really high on him. He's 26, pretty average MLS center back. Kyle Hibbert, again, another average MLS center back. Zach McGraw, another one. And Scott Kennedy, he's pretty decent. But again, Canada needs center backs ASAP. Right now, I feel like they have two prospects coming up, which is Stefanovic from Toronto and some Deforgelis kid from Fulham. I feel like he looked pretty good in that final of preseason for against Chelsea. I feel like he's a pretty good replacement for. I mean, he's a pretty good choice for Fulham if he can find himself in a matchday squad soon. Um, I don't know when will that come, but again, I feel like he will feature for Fulham's U23s more this season. So pretty excited to see how he will be doing. Now let's talk about Mexico. Mexico right now in center backs, they're not doing great, but they're not doing bad either. So Mexico have a duo starting center back of Vasquez and Montes. Although many fans of El Tri say that they haven't conceded a goal yet, you have to take into consideration who are they playing against. The best opposition they played was against the USMNT at the Azteca, and to make it even worse, Ricardo Pepi was out of form. McKennie was not in the game. Sergio Des was not playing, and we already know what Sergio Des on his day can do against Mexico. The assist on the third goal. Again, we all there was a lot of players missing in that game. Right now, we have a better center back partnership that can actually pass the ball, with the likes of Tim Ream and Chris Richards. So again, you have to take into consideration a lot of things before you come up with a conclusion. But overall, I feel like these two have done a decent job concerning the opposition they are facing. Now let's talk about Victor Guzman. Although I'm not really high on him, he's Mexico right now do not have a lot of right-footed center backs. Uh, when it comes to the other center back, who's a left-footed one, they got Jesus Orozco. I think they call him Chiqueta Orozco. I really forgot what his nickname was. He's pretty decent. Other options that Mexico has are Angulo from Tigres, but again, Mexico does not have a lot of center back options, as many people would like to think so. So yeah. Now let's talk about fullbacks. Fullbacks is a Canada has an edge because of one player who is Alfonso Davies, who just appears to be the best player in his position. Uh, Alfonso Davies is a really world class left back, and I feel like he's the best player in the CONCACAF region right now. Uh, Again, he has to start. Sam Adekugbe, he is a new transfer for the Vancouver Whitecaps. I thought he was going to stay in Europe. He probably should have stayed in Europe, in Turkey, where he was playing. Although he did get relegated, if I would have been Sam Adekugbe, I would have tried to find somewhere else in Turkey to stay. I feel like he has the quality to stay in Turkey, but again, you know, you know. Uh, Richard Lara is another Vancouver recruit, and again, I feel like when it comes to fullbacks, Vancouver would be doing really good. If they kept Julian Gressel to play him at midfield, that would have been even better, because imagine having Ali Ahmed, Julian Gressel, Richie Lara, Sam Adekugbe, that would have been lit. Uh, Tajon Buchanan has been doing pretty good for Club Brugge right now, and Canada have they're doing pretty good when it comes to fullbacks. Although I think they should try to replace Richie Lara for this cycle. They got guys like Kobe Franklin who can do a job. So certainly they have some alternatives at least. Um, Mexico right now, when it comes to left backs, they're not doing too good. Jesus Angulo plays more as a left back for Tigres, but I'm not really that high on him. Arteaga, he is still yet to solidify a role with the Mexican national team. Jesus Gallardo, although many people would like to say he is a really good left back, he has his own limitations as well. So Mexico have a lot of issues when it comes to left backs, right backs. Jorge Sanchez just got benched with Ajax, which, if you're a Mexico fan, you should be nervous. Kevin Alvarez right now is the best Mexican right back right now. Although many people like to say Julian Araujo might get a chance, we gotta see him get minutes first with Las Palmas, which I don't think he'll get minutes. If he doesn't get minutes, basically his European career is over right now. Like at that moment when he doesn't get any minutes with Las Palmas, or he's not a solidified starter, like he can just break his European career already. So again, fullbacks, defensively wise, Mexico has a clear issue on that. So now let's talk about midfielders. Uh, midfielders pretty interesting. Canada have Eustáquio, Ismael Kone, Ali Ahmed, Jonathan Osorio, and Mafio Chonieri. They're pretty decent when it comes to midfielders. If I think their midfield trio should right now be Ali Ahmed, Ismael Kone, and Steven Eustáquio. With Eustáquio playing as a six, playing a quarterback role in a way. That's a pretty decent midfield. Mexico, I feel like they would play Luis Chavez, Edson Alvarez, and Cordova. I wouldn't be surprised if they still chose Romo there because I feel like although many Mexican fans don't want to hear it, I feel like Luis Romo is going to be a Jimmy Lozano guy. Uh, he was one of the players who had the most who fitted most with his style of play, and I feel like he would be like if his club form stays like it is, I feel like he's gonna be a lock with Jimmy Lozano. Uh, Eric Sanchez, pretty pretty above average. Eric Gutierrez, I feel like his level would start dropping by like right now that he's back in Liga Max, his level should start to drop down. So again, Mexico in midfield have a lot of issues. Although they have some midfielders that can probably do a difference. Marcelo Flores, although I do think the boy is overrated, I feel like he's still an option for Mexico. Uh, Again, you cannot just be throwing in the towel on somebody who just had one bad season in Europe, although it was in La Liga too. But still, you just can't quit on a player that is that young. I think who does Mexico have as well? I really do not know. Uh, when it comes to young players, I really don't know who they have apart from Marcelo Flores. Uh, I don't think they have much to offer. I don't think so. Uh, I should maybe look into it. There's this guy Monterey who people like to mention about Monterey, although I feel like they're pretty overrated. If you're trying to build a base around a Monterey team, like if you're a Mexico fan, you gotta be there's something wrong with you. Uh, oh yeah, it was Cortizo. A lot of people want to see Cortizo on the national team. I don't really know how if he's gonna be ready or not. Personally, if you want to compete against the U.S., which the U.S. has a clear advantage when it comes to midfield, when you have Gio Reyna, Messi McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Yunus Musa, you have a clear advantage. And alongside with that, you have Luca De La Torre, you have Johnny Cardoso, and a lot of many other players. There's quite a bit of a big advantage that you have on this region. Canada still, I feel like midfield is still going to be a position in need for this upcoming World Cup, and I feel like they just need to find something. They really should. Now let's talk about forwards. Forwards is what's going to be getting pretty interesting. Uh, Canada have Jonathan David, Kyle Larin, Ike Ugbo, who I feel like he has been having a pretty good season, a resurgence in the championship. I feel like it's going to be great there. Uh, Liam Miller, who is pretty average in the Swiss league, and Corbeanu, who's pretty decent in Switzerland, who's been doing pretty good in Switzerland. He has been getting a lot of assists. Mexico, let's look at their side. Irving Lozano, Santiago Jimenez, Tecatito Corona, who is linked to a move with Monterrey. He is about to sign with Monterrey. So L3 basically it's gonna become like Monterrey, like a mixture of America, Tigres, Monterrey. Did I already say Monterrey? So it's basically gonna be America, Monterrey, Tigres, uh, Chivas. I don't really think they have a lot of players in the national team, and some European guys here and there. So basically, it's gonna be it's gonna be pretty bad for this L3 side. Uh, Orvanin Pineda, who I feel like he's pretty overrated as well. Uh, the man plays in Greece, and I know he's been playing great and everything, but you gotta remember before he came to Greece, he was in Celta de Vigo, where Luca de la Torre is right now. And Luca de la Torre was a starter for a good part of the season for a Celta de Vigo side, while Orvanin Pineda was mostly on the bench or not even on the bench. I don't think he was like, I feel like he was on the bench. I don't think he started a single game. So again, you have to look into something before you can judge it. Uh, Henry Martin, who I'm not really that high on. Uriel Antuna, although many people would get hurt by me saying this, but I feel like, again, Antuna was a starter during the Gold Cup when Jimmy Lozano could have chosen guys like Oziel Herrera or Diego Lainez. He's stuck with Antuna for a reason. I feel like it's because I feel like he does like the style of his play a lot. So I feel like that's the complete picture here. Uh, for Canada, this attack can get a lot more interesting if they can get Luka Kolyosho to commit. If they can get Luka to Kolyosho to commit, then I feel like they should be cooking when it comes to the attack. Because imagine a potential front three, like switching it to a right now. Right now, John Herdman plays like mostly like a 3-5-2. Uh, Imagine if they switch it to a 3-4-3 and Luka Kolyosho plays as a right winger, David on the left, and you have Kyle Larin as a striker. That would be pretty good. I feel like they would have their attack set. Uh, if I were Canada, I would try to call up Luka Kolyosho as early as possible. Uh, I feel like you're competing against the U.S. and Italy. Just giving out a player playing time is no longer good enough anymore, because you got to remember where Italy's situation is. They're not giving all young players a lot of minutes right now. Italy, they're giving they're like Italy right now is so much in the mud. They're giving. I feel like I think they started like a player like a striker in the Argentinian league. They started him for a couple of games. So again, when it comes to this situation, again you have to win the race. You just have to do it. You have to pull the trigger right now, because if you don't pull the trigger right now, the Coolio show could be committing to Italy again, competing against the U.S. as well. So if I were Canada, I'll try to get him to commit as soon as possible, maybe in September. Uh, Mexico again. Julian Quinones is always going to be an option for this Mexico side, and I feel like as soon as those papers are signed that he's going to be Mexican, I feel like that L3 is going to start to select Julian Quinones. But for right now, the Orbelin Pineda is backup left winger. So now let's talk about the potential lineup. So let's talk about Mexico first. I feel like Jimmy Lozano will stick to his 4-3-3 with Ochoa in goal, Gallardo, Vasquez, Montes, and Sanchez as the back four. I feel like he's going to be staying loyal to his Gold Cup winning back four. Edson Alvarez at the 6, Cordova and Chavez at the 8. Uh, Although I do think Jimmy Lozano will still. I feel like he would start Luis Romo for some games. Front three: Lozano, Jimenez, and Tecatito. Raul Jimenez can always be an option because he had a pretty good performance in the Premier League, but we gotta see that consistent. So before we can say that again, we have to see a little bit more from Raul Jimenez. But for right now, Santiago Jimenez is a clear number 1-9. Uh, Now let's talk about Canada. Canada, it's Kripau in goal, Miller, Vittoria, and Johnson as the back three, Davies and Buchanan at either of the fullback positions. Uh, in midfield three of Ali Ahmed, Kone, and Estacio, with Estacio being a backline quarterback, and Jonathan David and Kyle Laren as the front two, as the two strikers up top. I feel like that'll be pretty decent. So right now, I feel like Canada has the better side. I feel like with players like Davies, David, Laren, Buchanan, Estacio, and Johnson. Again, star power will beat out, but I feel Mexico is a much more balanced team as of right now. Again, they have. Again, I feel like talent is a little bit more spread out when it comes to defense, midfield, goalkeeper, and forwards. But I feel like they're missing that extra bit of quality that they need because like let's say if a lot of people say, but the attack is Jimenez, Lozano, and Tecatito on the other side. You have to take into consideration something. Tecatito is no longer the same player he was like a couple of years ago. He's no longer the same player. Lozano, I feel although I don't want to hurt any Mexico fans right now, I feel like he might decide to go to the MLS really soon. Like as soon as this MLS season ends, I feel like Lozano will be going to the MLS, or maybe to LAFC. Like that's what's been rumored. Uh, Santiago Jimenez, we gotta see that first that he's not a one season wonder. So again, we gotta see this a little bit more from Mexico. Uh, again, your roster is full of Liga MX players. Uh, Chavez and Cordova are Liga MX players. Gallardo is Liga MX players. Jorge Sanchez, although he is not in Liga MX, he certainly has Liga MX quality, which is low. Again, again, this Mexico side is going to be struggling, even with Jimmy Lozano. Once they start to face the real teams, that's when we're going to see the real Mexico, which is a really mediocre team. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.